you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
Welcome to another A.H.A.D moment, the calm before the storm. I want to greet you all this week, our people out there in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area audience, especially those of you who are the A.H.A.D believers amongst that audience. We hope that today we're going to have another discussion of revealing and eye-opening and educational experience, such an experience that gets from our discussions concerning the universal religion of truth and what this time, this day represents, this day of apocalypse, this day of revelation, this true day of judgment. I'm Fakir Abdulaziz, and with me on the panel today our esteemed hosts, our esteemed guests, I should say, guests and hosts, Lord Holy Apostle Dean Salim, the messenger prophet of A.H.A.D, Elder Supreme Lord of all worlds, this day and all times. And with him is his esteemed companion and our esteemed mother of community of A.H.A.D, Mother Holy Queen, Mother Rabia Salim. May I use this peace and other blessing be within and about your presence.
May I use this peace and other blessings be within and about your presence.
Again, we going to enter into some discussion because for me, as well as, and I believe certainly for the audience, it's always a pleasure and an education for myself. And I always look forward to sitting on the panel with you and having these discussions concerning universality. The subject today is that we're going to look and discuss, and I look forward to discussing the subject of mysticism.
Yeah.
What mysticism represents, that in spirituality, mysticism and spirituality being one of the same in the orders of religion and whatever walks of life people find important to themselves. So with that, I'm going to open up with the question. I just opened with the general question of what is mysticism, let me ask before mysticism, what is spirituality as opposed to just general religion? Lord Holy Apostle or Holy Queen.
Well, spirituality is many things to many people, but from a technical standpoint of view, we deal with the spiritual body of man. You had a physical body, mental body, emotional body, and other bodies, but the spiritual body is one of the bodies. And when we talk about spirituality, many times people refer to emotionality or their feelings, but spirit is like the wind. It's an essence, an entity that flows through you. It's not like the wind in such that you feel a cool breeze, so to speak, but you could feel the essence of it moving through you and through all the bodies of your being. Spirituality is the balancing body of your being. It's at the center of your being where it touches upon all bodies of your being as a human being. Of those 7 bodies or breakups or levels of your being. And in dealing with spirituality, when people's minds flow through the other bodies of being, where they come into mental insight, and they go within, that's what we're talking about spirituality. When we talk in terms of dealing with the unseen beings like angels, the unseen supreme being like the Lord of the throne, the unseen originator of life, the Lord El. We talk about, that's where we come from when we talk about spirituality. It's much more than the hootenannies that you see happening in certain places of religion. Houses of worship where people are having their hootenanny and they good time and they saying that they feel the spirit and they going through whatever they go through, the Holy Ghost. But this thing is such a grounded body of being that touch upon from the flesh to the soul. And in the voice of the soul, the spirit carries the voice of the soul in your conscience. So hopefully you can kind of like encapsulate that into what we talk about when we talk about spirituality. It's more than just, a feeling. It's an entity.
Yeah, I striking the feeling, but Lord, when you say spirit, when the spirit involves itself in aspects of your body, from the physical to the emotional, even the mental. So I think of like when you watch sports and a so-called athlete gets into what you call a zone, and he feels a spirit. He doesn't think anymore. He's inspirited, say, in a physical way, whereas maybe I'm just thinking how is when somebody's inspirited, whether they're inspirited physically or inspirited mentally, to come up with a concept or an idea or something like that, would that be a reflection of a person experiencing the spirit?
I wouldn't say so much exactly that's what it is, because when a person goes into the zone, the so-called zone, they go into the force of life. That's the chi. Like in martial arts, you go into the force and you become somewhat unconscious.
Okay.
Spirit is in that.
Different. Okay.
But that is a force. That's like another. It's like an ethereal body, body of being where your mind goes into it and you almost become unconscious, but you're conscious. It's like that's what they call it, like a zone. It's different from spirituality. Right. You have to remember, spirit is an essence. Al is the. Itty, small portions. Yeah. Spirituality is a small portion of the, in essence, of your being, which touches upon every aspect of you. Even that force that you come into that people call the zone.
Right.
Okay.
You see, that's completely different from the spirit. That's a zone of somewhat of the ethereal. It's almost like ecstasy. When you go into a form of ecstasy, like, a guy who can't miss a shot, or a guy who can't miss a pass, or, things of that nature,
Yeah. So, Mother, I thought you were going to say something.
I was just going to say the spirit is somewhat separate. And I think that's one of the problems is people have always been led to relate the spirit to an action or reaction to what's going on, mainly on the physical plane, like you saying, when an athlete is in the zone.
Right.
Those is more things that's on a physical plane.
Right.
Like when you become unconscious in that zone we are talking about. We all live in that zone at different times for different things.
Right. Whether it's physical or mental or
right.
Yeah.
I look at that zone as when a person reaches the ability unconsciously to let A.H.A.D take over.
And that's the force.
That's
That's
the force.
That's when they talk about on that Star Wars picture, let the force be with you, or whatever. That is the force. And it's like ethereal.
Right, and that's why some people say, hey, I don't know how I did it.
There you go.
And truth, because they haven't been told to recognize truth. No, they don't know how they did it because they did not do it.
Right.
It's just like somebody ain't studied for a test and go in there and pass the test. And the answers is coming to them like this.
Yeah.
You ain't studied for it. You ain't prepared for it. But something greater than you did the test for you. You understand what I'm saying? And that's one of the ways people say, I can understand what I used to say, that it calls everyone. But people don't want to take don't want to, succumb to the calling, don't want to pay attention to the calling, don't want to recognize the calling because preachers and everybody saying, oh, the Lord can't speak to you. Well, the Lord ain't going to sit down and say, hey, Fat Kevin, let me tell you something, A, B, C, D. But the Lord is constantly active with you at all times. If it takes away that, you no longer exist. Now, to recognize that, you would have to seek A.H.A.D so you could become aware that A.H.A.D is totally the one in charge, and when people are so determined to reach these great heights in their life, that's when they go into that zone.
Let me interject something here too. In that, what you say, like A.H.A.D would not just come and speak to you in that manner. A.H.A.D would not come and speak to you in general.
Right.
But there's exceptions to the rule.
Right.
Okay, because A.H.A.D does speak, and you can hear the voice of the Lord if it chooses for you to hear the voice of the Lord. But in general, it don't speak to you. Now, something else is what you was talking about in that force, in that recognition. That's where in spirituality we say all praise is due to A.H.A.D, or for others, Allah, or Amen, or Christ. You understand? All praise is due to the Lord Most High, to the originator of life. That's in spirituality, giving credence to that force.
Right.
Which differs from the spirit.
Right.
So
it's a matter of understanding so that you don't get it confused. And what people mostly believe the spirit is about, they really think it's about the physical and the emotional.
Yeah.
People say, I had a spiritual experience. And what does usually come from the spiritual experience? A bunch of yelling and screaming and tear dropping and all that kind of stuff. Where that there's so many experiences that people is shut down to until they get to the level of crying and screaming and what have you.
And what they be having is emotional experiences and mental experiences that they attribute to spiritual experiences. That's why in the path of spirituality, the path of mysticism, what A.H.A.D Allah guide us to is to the actuality, the life in the circumference, in the realm, the small realm of our minds. The life of the spirit being, you see, which, like I said, is an entity, a part of our being that we must deal with, that we must acknowledge. You understand? It's not, it's just like the soul. For so many, hundreds of years, for our people who've been taught what the soul really is. And we have people running around here talking about other creatures don't have souls. We so far removed as in our education and our knowledge about the soul that we attribute the soul to spirit and emotions, and black folks to food, to something that they done killed off an animal, and call that soul food because they talking about the passion, the sensation of eating, and they call that the soul. But the soul is an entity too, within itself. And it's the entity that's the nearest entity of man's being to the originator of life, to the power of life, to the creator. You see? So with the creator commanding the spirit is drawn up to the soul. You got things that's taken from the soul by the spirit that's brought down to the various other bodies of man's being and relates those things through the voice of the soul through the spirit. You see? So here we go, with the spirit having a life of its own inside the realm of your being. The soul having a life of its own above the realm of your being, at the top of the realm of your being. The flesh having a life of its own at the lowest portion of the life of the realm of your being. You see? So in spirituality, in true spirituality, through mysticism, and what mysticism is just the mysterious knowledge of the unknown, the mysterious knowledge which becomes, which may be open to you and is no longer a mystery. Okay? What we come to is the recognition of these breakups. as a human being.
Yeah.
And from recognizing the breakups of the human being, we recognize the individual, the inwardly divided aspects, which whereas we say the individual, the inwardly divided aspects of that's in you. Individual of that's in you. Of the is the originator. In you, the life in you. And then from that we even go even further where the Lord said, when you pass on, your limbs will bear witness against you. So what we talking about limbs, some people keep it so lowly in their thinking that they think you talking about your fingers and your arms and your legs, but it goes so much deeper. Every particle of your being that ever was a part of your being, in your flesh, in your spirit, the essence of your spirit and the essence of your mind and everything, those are all limbs, parts of your being, which have minds and lives and lifespans and lifetimes and what have you in the realm of you, your microcosmic being, which is a small example of the macrocosm, the universal being, which is a reflection of the eternal being in its creative mind, which is all tied into spirituality.
Like I reflect on Holy Queen when Holy Queen Mother, she says you got to, it's something that in general we don't understand, we don't know it. It's something that we don't know is happening with us, but it is happening. But it's something that we should strive, that we people of religion, people of whatever, looking to find themselves, be whole with the source of themselves, should strive so that they can come to know that. Well, we say that spirituality, the practice of spirituality is the practice of it, such as in fasting or prayer or
Hold
meditation.
on for a second, because you kind of lost me there. You said we don't know it. We don't know what?
I you're right. I phrased myself.
But
People
tell
such
me,
as
we
myself.
Don't know what?
How to identify the spirit? How to identify?
You don't know that yet?
After explanation.
How long you been a student?
After explanation, you know how inexhaustible Aisha is, and no, it's still.
Well, see, in spirituality, in the path of spirituality, which is the education of the spirit being, we direct you into how to know it, how to experience it. Knowing is experiencing it. How to know it, to recognize, bring it into a reunion of your mind, the spirit, so that you know. Because of me knowing spirit, knowing the body of my spirit, through the vibrations of my spirit, I can relate to you without talking to you. I can understand and acknowledge and reason and realize what's going on with you in aspects of your being, even when you're behind my back or across the room or across the world, because of my knowing my spirits and the mechanics of my spirit. So my spirit is not locked up. It's not incarcerated anymore in ignorance. It's not incarcerated in my ignorance. You see, it's free. And now it goes out and I see it, I recognize it, I feel it, I know it. You see? So when a person come into the room, I feel their spirit. And in their spirit, I feel their vibrations. And in their vibrations, I feel their thoughts. And in their thoughts, I can relate them to my thoughts and my vibrations and my spirits and understand the nature of their thinking. Maybe even their intent.
Right.
You understand? Yes. And people say, well, man can't read minds. Yes, man can. Mm-hmm. Man is mind. But see, it's like it's a level of your understanding about what's real and what's not real. How you are elevated as a man or a human being to what level of mind that you live in. We in spirituality encourage people to live in and recognize the bodies of their being so that they can become whole within themselves and become connected, reconnected with the originator of themselves, with the power of themselves, which is the Lord El, which is El, which that had come by many names. Allah, Isa, Amen, Ra, and Ahura Mazda.
And a lot of time people that are on what they call a religious path to the Lord Most High don't recognize that the spirit works separate from your actual physical body.
Right.
That's why in Quran, I used to say, strive with one another in good works. Because see, if you take and try to unite the physical with the spirit, then you start going on the path of harmony. But if you have two things going in two directions, then you don't have harmony. A lot of people don't understand that they don't have unity within themselves. So if you have that separateness, then you're already out of harmony. And that's what contributes to mankind being out of order with each other. Because people don't recognize that the division within themselves. Now, people don't understand the spirit. There's like, people think that when you say a thing to a person, they're supposed to hold on to your words. People say, when Elijah Muhammad came and people call themselves Muslim, their favorite word is, Allah is my witness. Right. Word is bond.
Right. But to see, Allah. Word is bond to Allah. My word is my bond to Allah. And it then went down many stages to word is bond.
A word.
Or bond, yeah.
But people don't understand, people that's not traveling in spirituality don't understand that you can say anything off your tongue. Mm-hmm. You can say anything off your tongue. But what is your spirit saying to me?
Right.
You understand? And a lot of people don't understand. I know that I have that conflict with my children. They say, well, I didn't say anything. You ain't have to say one word. I feel you before you open your mouth. I know what's going on with you. That's when you decide to walk the path in spirituality. That takes you to a higher level. It protects you better. Mm-hmm. It prepares you better for different situations. Right. And if you're in harmony with your spirit, then the other things that start falling into place become as one, because you're constantly working on that spirit. Because see, thoughts are things, and people think that when you send a word out into the atmosphere, it's just a word. No, that word is alive. Mm-hmm. And that spirit somewhere else may receive that word.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
It's like take for instance, I asked about a person. I asked Holy Queen Mother about a person 3 or 4 weeks ago. And a few days later, I asked about that person again. And before I knew it, I hadn't seen or heard from this person in 23 years, 24 years. And then here come this person emailing me. And she said, whoa, you cooked this person up. You brought this person to life. I said, no. Evidently, this person was thinking about me. Right. And I picked up on her, on the spirit, the vibrations of this person's thought, because I have that ability. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, this person was supposedly in New Mexico. Supposedly. But, and we clearly, we start talking, we hadn't even mentioned this person for over 15 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
just like that.
The spirit is very much alive. Your words is very much alive. Your vibration, everything is alive. You may be dead. But everything else is alive. That's why you said, wow, I thought about that the other day. Right. Mm-hmm. And everything is alive. Everything is active.
Now, this other thing too, what we referring to, she said about putting something out there and the spirit might pick it up. You know, you think about people who or have hateful thoughts towards other people, always thinking hateful, and they always stand in trouble and always sick and always negative.
Right.
And they keep putting those negative spirits out there. Don't you know what you put out comes back? It must come back. It has to vibrate back because it's hitting something. It's just like a ball hitting the wall. You throw your spirit out there into the atmosphere and it hits life. It hits what they call, the scientists call, black matter. Unseen. They wanted to say everything except the unseen reality. Huh? It hits the unseen reality. And the unseen reality bounces it back to you. And that same unseen reality said, think right thoughts. Do right things. You know, work righteous work. Be of the righteous. Because what you put forth will come back. That's what the unseen reality, the so-called black matter, say to man. And it creates law behind what it says. That's why the person who always smiling and laughing, they live a happy life. Those who think good all the time and sending good thoughts and good prayers and good works out, goodness come back to them because of that law of spirituality.
Right. Like the physicians say, any action brings back an equal reaction.
Yes.
And it's out there.
Yeah.
I have to say that even meeting you, Lord Holy Apostle, one thing that has been consistent has been what they call ESP, that very thought. When you're thinking of someone and then shortly either you get a phone call from the person or you get a visit from the person or someone asks about the person, and how consistent it has been. You know, something that I come to recognize that it's been consistent. It's not that I haven't experienced it before, but probably in a dead mind, sat there and you dismissed it, just dismissed it thinking that you got control of another reality. But the essence that it has been consistently happening has brought me to the point of recognition. So, you know, I can identify with that reality.
It's an elevation of your mind, recognition of that spirituality.
And let me just put this out here because people get confused. And people always take things to try to twist it for their benefit of evil. Now, people say, you know, I used to get these emails. All you have to do is say it's yours and it's yours. Say you want a house and it's yours and all. That's damn foolishness.
That's just like you could be anything you want to be. Is that our half an hour period of time where we have to, you know?
Well, with that, Lord, we'll just call out to our New York audience and let them know that, you know, those in the half-hour segment of our audience, you know, come back to us next week and they'll have further discussion of like kind like this.
Get the continuation.
You know, so we'll continue on. You were saying, teacher.
Who of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you